Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make fresh mozzarella cheese at home using only a couple of ingredients that you probably already have in your pantry. Oh, and also, it's going to wind up being about 20% of the cost of buying fresh mozzarella from the store. I really love fresh mozzarella. It's great in a caprese salad, it's wonderful on a margarita pizza. I like eating it on its own. And now that I think about it, I think it would go really good in my stuffed pizza chaffle. I'll link to that up here and in the end card. Not that long ago, my daughter and I decided to make some fresh mozzarella. She had gotten some fresh raw milk from a local farmer, and we made some up. But the ingredients we used are a couple that you probably don't have in your pantry unless you're already making cheese: rennet and citric acid. So I decided I wasn't going to make a video on it. However, a couple days ago I saw a video in my Instagram feed, and I wish I could remember who it was so I could give him credit, but he made fresh mozzarella using just two ingredients besides the milk: distilled vinegar and salt. So far I think I've given you two good reasons to make fresh mozzarella. It tastes great, and you can make it with just a couple of ingredients that you already have. But the third and perhaps best reason is price. Around me, fresh mozzarella costs about 75 cents an ounce, but I can make it for 80% less just by buying some whole milk. Now, the key on this is it cannot be ultra pasteurized. It can be pasteurized, it can be homogenized, and it may be better if you can get farm fresh raw milk. But the great thing about this recipe is I found that it works even on the least expensive milk, like $2.60 to $2.80, depending on whether I'm at Walmart or my grocery store. So with that, let me show you just how easy this is to make. I have a large stock pot on my stovetop, which I'm going to set to medium heat. Then I have 1 gallon of whole milk right here. This is one of the more expensive ones. This is about $6 a gallon. If you're using metric, it's all right to go up to 4 liters. We'll account for that when we get to the vinegar. Pour this into my pot. And I'm going to want to bring this up to about 115 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 46 to 49 degrees Celsius. That'll take about 20 minutes, and I'll be stirring probably every 5 minutes or so. To make our cheese curds, we're going to use some distilled vinegar, right between 3/4 of a cup and 1 cup. If you're using 4 liters of milk, I would up that amount to 240 ml of vinegar. Now the temp is where I need it to be, so I'm going to start stirring again and pour in my vinegar. I'm going to stir for about a minute, and you'll see that once I hit about 15 seconds, the curds are already starting to form. By 45 seconds, a very pronounced separation of the curds from the whey. So I'm going to cover this up and let it rest and cool for about 10 minutes before I separate the curds from the whey using cheesecloth, or what I have here, a nut milk bag. And because I don't trust myself to pour all of this at once, I'm going to use a slotted spoon to pull out my cheese curds. Once I've got them most of the way out of the way, I'm going to pour the rest through, and it's probably going to take 2 or 3 pours just based on the size of my measuring bowl here. I'll set the cheese back in the whey, and then I'm going to pour the whey into my milk jug here, and I'll show you how I use that later. And I will pour the last of my whey into the bag here. And then it's time to squeeze as much of that whey out as we can. So I'm going to twist up my nut milk bag here and just sort of gradually massage and squeeze and press out the whey. I spent about 2 minutes squeezing the whey out of this, which is probably a minute less than I did on a previous batch. We'll see how it turns out. Next, I'm going to transfer this to a bowl. And I'm finding that it's sticking to my nut milk bag a little bit more than the batch that I had done previously. I probably didn't squeeze this out enough, so I'm going to have to get all of these chunks off of the nut milk bag. And you can see right now that the texture is more like fresh cottage cheese or farmer's cheese, not like mozzarella. So to fix that, we're going to go into the microwave for 30 seconds to start softening this up. Then using a spatula, I'm going to kind of fold it and mix it a little bit. And you can see there's more whey that's going to separate. Then back into the microwave for another 30 seconds. And at this point there's enough whey that I'm going to dump that out into the sink. And then I'm going to add some salt. A half teaspoon to a teaspoon. And continue to mix this together with a spatula. It's still not quite gooey enough, so back into the microwave for a final 30 seconds. At this point, it's pretty gooey, pretty melty, and too hot to handle with my hands. So I'm going to mix it together with a spatula, just kind of rolling and folding and smushing it down until it gets cool enough that I can use my hands. At this point, I'm really just kind of going to treat it like dough, just sort of kneading it together. It is still pretty hot though, so there's no shame in taking a little break, which I'm going to do here. Eventually, you'll be able to get this into a nice, smooth, round ball, kind of like this. And then I'm going to put it on a sheet of plastic wrap, grab all four corners, and kind of twist it up into a ball. And then to help it hold its shape, I'm putting it in this small bowl here. If I just go straight into the fridge in the plastic wrap, it's really going to kind of flatten out, and I want that nice round shape. So into the fridge it's going to go for an hour or two. Then I'm going to take it out, and you can see how the top is nice and round. I'm going to flip it over and do the same for the bottom. Back into the fridge for another couple of hours or overnight. And here we have the finished product. This is sticking to the plastic wrap more than the batch that I did yesterday. And it is a little tacky. Let's see how it slices. Definitely like cream cheese. But how does it taste? It's good. A little soft. I could almost see using this like a cream cheese and making a spread. But now let me show you another batch that I made that I really squeezed out well. So this ball of mozzarella I made the day before, and it is not nearly as sticky. It's pretty much like regular fresh mozzarella. This was made with the least expensive whole milk I could find. I think it was $2.70 a gallon. And I did spend a little bit more time squeezing the liquid out. And you can see this cut like traditional mozzarella, not nearly as gooey. Texture, perfect. Now this one I did not salt. I forgot to do it. I've kind of determined that somewhere between a half teaspoon and a full teaspoon per gallon of milk is probably where you want to go in terms of salt. Nevertheless, the taste on this is still great. The texture is absolutely perfect, and you can't beat the price. I really feel like the difference in consistency between the two batches of mozzarella I made are due to how much time I spent squeezing every last drop of whey out of the cheese. The great thing about that less firm batch that I made is it could be very easily converted into a cheese spread just by adding pretty much any ingredient, some everything but the bagel seasoning or some French onion soup mix, or just dice up some jalapenos and put it in there. Yum. As for the whey, if you have a garden, your plants are going to absolutely love this stuff, especially tomatoes. Once my tomatoes get going, I just pour it right down at the base of the stems. It helps prevent blossom end rot. Your tomatoes are just going to go crazy for it. But because I don't have any tomato plants going yet this season, I just decided to dump it into my composter and start fortifying that compost. So in total, my yield on this recipe was about 1 pound, 3 ounces of mozzarella, which is about 525 grams, and 120 ounces of whey, which is, I think, around 3,400 milliliters. I also think a lot of the carbs from the lactose in the milk wind up in the whey, because I got out onto both Carb Manager and Chronometer to look up how many carbs are in fresh mozzarella, and the answer is just 1 gram of total carbs per 1 ounce, or about 30 grams. Anyhow, I'm going to keep making this. I think this is the sort of recipe that you could easily do with your children. They can have some fun. They can see where cheese comes from or how it's made. I'll also include a link down in the description below for nut milk bags if you'd like to use those instead of cheesecloth. That's the way I go. They're easy to clean, reusable. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click that like button. If you're not a subscriber already, tap that subscribe button, then hit the bell to turn on all notifications. And I'd encourage you to check out channel membership as well. Click that join button to see what all it entails besides early videos and some premium content. Anyhow, that's it. Thanks for watching. Go make some cheese.